Rumors are swirling around the NFL coaching world, and two names keep getting dragged into the conversation. Matt LaFleur, the current head coach of the Green Bay Packers, and Vance Joseph, the Denver Broncos defensive coordinator. Their names have suddenly been attached to a wild possibility. The idea that either one could become a potential replacement for Mike McDaniel if the Miami Dolphins decide to make a move this offseason. Let's start with LaFleur, because when fans first hear his name connected to Miami, the reaction is usually, "What are you even talking about?" But here's the truth. The noise isn't coming out of nowhere. After the Packers' recent loss to the Eagles on Monday Night Football, a Green Bay reporter suggested that LaFleur might be coaching for his job for the rest of the season. That alone sent shockwaves through the fan base. Before we go further, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it with your friends, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Alright, let's get back into it. The report pointed out that in Green Bay, a 7th seed and early playoff exits aren't good enough. The Packers still have 8 regular season games left, plus whatever postseason run they can put together, but the front office has a decision looming. Team President Ed Policy didn't extend LaFleur before the season, and he doesn't like coaches entering contract years without clarity. The implication is massive. If Green Bay decides not to extend LaFleur, they might simply move on and hire a new coach on a long-term deal. But here's the part that truly matters. I don't believe the Packers are firing Matt LaFleur. Not even close. In my eyes, he's one of the top 10 coaches in the entire NFL. Yes, Green Bay hasn't won a Super Bowl under him. And yes, they've had stacked rosters over the years, from Aaron Rodgers' MVP seasons to the developing era of Jordan Love. But firing a coach who has delivered that much stability, that many wins, and that much structure, it just doesn't feel like something the Packers would do. Still, if the impossible happens and Green Bay lets him go, then the Miami Dolphins should not hesitate, not for 1 second. Even if Mike McDaniel finishes 10-7, even if he runs the table, if there's even a 50% chance that LaFleur is interested in Miami, you make the bold move. You hire him. Because LaFleur isn't just a creative offensive mind. He's a proven leader, a coach who wins, a coach who elevates quarterbacks and entire organizations. LaFleur took over the Packers in 2019 and immediately turned them into a powerhouse. They made the playoffs every year except one. His first 3 seasons featured an incredible streak, 13 wins, 3 straight years, and 3 straight division titles. Even after Aaron Rodgers left, the Packers stayed competitive, even with some growing pains under Jordan Love. The Packers scraped into the playoffs at 9-8 not long ago, and last season they finished 11-6 in a brutally competitive NFC North. This year, though, the team has stumbled out of the gate at 5-3-1, sitting behind both the Lions and the Bears. And honestly, nobody expected that. Coming into the season, plenty of fans, myself included, believed Green Bay had the firepower to contend for the entire NFC. Some even picked them as a dark horse Super Bowl team. But let's be real, the Packers have looked flat. Not terrible, not hopeless, just dull. And when a team with this much talent plays without energy, without urgency, without that spark, that's when the whispers about coaching start to get louder. This is LaFleur's 7th season, and while he's won a ton of games, the Packers still haven't broken through. They reached the NFC Championship game, but couldn't get past Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. They've had chances in other seasons, but each time, something fell apart. And fair or not, when a franchise keeps falling just short, the head coach becomes the lightning rod. Could LaFleur actually be blamed for all of this? Could he really be fired? No one knows. But even if the Packers decided to press the reset button, my stance doesn't change for a second. I would hire Matt LaFleur immediately. What about you? If LaFleur were let go, would you replace Mike McDaniel with him? Think about that for a moment. Because for me, there isn't a scenario where I choose McDaniel over LaFleur. They're both brilliant offensive minds, but LaFleur's system feels more durable, more adaptable, built on physicality and a strong run game. His offenses play north, south, establish rhythm, then build explosive play-action opportunities off it. You don't win like LaFleur has, year after year, without being a legitimate NFL head coach. His consistency speaks louder than any talking point, trend, or narrative. The man knows how to build a winning foundation. Now let's shift gears to the other names swirling around these rumors. Vance Joseph. Could he become a legitimate candidate if the Dolphins ever decided to move on from McDaniel? His name has surfaced in more conversations than people realize, and the reasons behind it might surprise you. The reason Vance Joseph's name is suddenly gaining momentum in Miami's coaching conversations goes back to a recent ESPN report outlining the newest league-wide rumors. After the firing of Brian Daboll earlier this week, front offices around the NFL began reevaluating every coaching situation, and Joseph's work in Denver quickly became one of the league's biggest talking points. According to insiders across the NFL, Joseph has earned a tremendous amount of respect for what he's accomplished with the Broncos' defense. And honestly, his journey back to Denver is one of the most unusual coaching paths we've seen in years. He served as the Broncos' head coach in 2017 and 2018 before being let go. After that, he rebuilt his reputation as the Arizona Cardinals' defensive coordinator, only to return to Denver later, this time as a coordinator instead of the man in charge. You almost never see a coach get fired by a team and eventually return to that same organization in a lesser role. That takes humility, self-awareness, and confidence, and it says a lot about who Vance Joseph is. He believed Denver was the right place to elevate his career, and he didn't let pride get in the way of that. And credit where it's due. The Broncos' defense has consistently ranked among the league's best over the past several seasons. Discipline, physicality, strong fundamentals. Joseph's blueprint is all over it. Now, his short tenure as Denver's head coach often gets brought up, but context matters. His teams went 5-11 and 6-10. Not impressive records, sure, but those rosters weren't exactly loaded with talent. The quarterback situation was a revolving door, and the organization was far from stable at the time. Considering all that, those records could have been far worse. The defense, even then, remained competitive. And don't forget, Joseph has history with Miami. He served as the Dolphins' defensive coordinator back in 2016, giving him familiarity with the environment, the ownership, and the expectations. That matters. Coaches value places where they already know the landscape, and Miami could absolutely be a destination he'd consider if the opportunity opened. So the question becomes, could Vance Joseph emerge as a serious candidate if the Dolphins decided to move on from Mike McDaniel? Based on his reputation, his experience, and the league-wide respect he's earned, the possibility is very real. There's another reason Vance Joseph continues to rise on Miami's radar, and it comes from someone who knows him well. A Broncos insider recently said he believes Joseph would be far better in his second opportunity as an NFL head coach. The biggest difference? This time, he'd have the power he didn't get in Denver, the ability to build his own coaching staff. That alone changes everything. When coaches are forced to inherit assistants they don't choose, the entire foundation becomes shaky. But give Joseph full control, give him the freedom to select the voices in his meeting rooms, and you unlock the version of him the league never truly got to see. And on top of that, he'd have stronger input on the type of players he specializes in, defensive players. Because let's be honest, Vance Joseph knows how to maximize defensive talent as well as anyone in the league. If Miami paired him with a new general manager, the two could build a defensive identity almost overnight. Joseph handles the defensive blueprint. The GM and offensive staff handle the other side. Together, the balance could transform the Dolphins into a team led by toughness, discipline, and physicality. Joseph has delivered high-level defenses everywhere he's gone. That alone puts him on my short list of potential replacements if Miami moved on from McDaniel. And to be clear, that doesn't mean I'm only looking at defensive coaches. It just happens that most of the strongest candidates available this cycle are defensive-minded leaders. Here's the reality. Unless the Dolphins somehow had access to big names like Matt LaFleur, Mike Tomlin, or John Harbaugh, coaches who aren't expected to be available, you have to evaluate the realistic pool. And among those realistic options, here are the 5 names that stand out. Mike McCarthy, the lone offensive coach on the list, a stabilizing veteran who knows how to create structure and culture. Robert Saleh, a former head coach with a fiery defensive mentality and proven leadership. Vance Joseph, experienced, respected, and trusted throughout the league. Jesse Minter, the Rams' defensive coordinator, rising fast with modern concepts. Chris Shula, the Chargers' defensive coordinator, another young coach ready for his first big opportunity. I won't pretend Joseph is my top choice among them. He isn't. My first option has always been Robert Saleh. I genuinely believe Saleh was handed an impossible situation with the Jets. Aaron Rodgers' injury, Zach Wilson's struggles, and years of questionable roster decisions all landed on his shoulders. He absorbed the blame for things he couldn't control. Give Saleh a second chance with real stability, real leadership, and a real quarterback? I think he could thrive. And he's connected with some of the smartest offensive minds in the league, meaning he could bring a legitimate coordinator to Miami while he handles the defensive side with authority. But with all that said, Vance Joseph absolutely belongs on that same tier. His name deserves to be there. And depending on how the offseason plays out, he could be one of the most intriguing candidates on Miami's board. Who would you want leading the Dolphins if a coaching change happened, or would you stick with Mike McDaniel? So here's the big question. If Miami moved on from Mike McDaniel, who would you trust to take over? Every fan has their own dream pick, but the conversation is much bigger than one name. Alongside Vance Joseph, ESPN highlighted several other coaches who could become real candidates this offseason. Jeff Hafley, Green Bay's defensive coordinator, known for sharp game planning and discipline. Steve Spagnuolo, the Chiefs' defensive mastermind, a veteran with championship pedigree. Joe Brady, the Bills' offensive coordinator, a creative mind who helped stabilize Buffalo's attack. Arthur Smith, former NFL head coach, now working with Pittsburgh's offense, respected for his physical, run-first philosophy. Marcus Freeman, Notre Dame's head coach, a leader with intensity, presence, and a culture-building mindset. Marcus Freeman, in particular, is fascinating. His leadership is magnetic, and his ability to command a room is rare. If he ever chose to jump to the NFL, he would absolutely bring a fresh identity and a fearless approach to the locker room. Now, let's get to the heart of the matter. Coaching rumors are flying, but the Dolphins' next move shouldn't revolve around emotion or impatience. It should revolve around structure. If Miami truly wants long-term stability, the smartest approach is simple. Hire a new general manager and let him choose his own head coach. That's how successful organizations operate. A GM needs a coach who matches his philosophy, same vision, same goals, same timeline. When those two positions aren't aligned, everything becomes messy. We've seen it happen around the league. Teams cycle through mismatched coaches and GMs, never quite syncing up, never building a unified direction. It creates confusion, tension, and eventually another rebuild. And while some fans still want to give McDaniel another year, especially because of the Tua situation, it's important to acknowledge that once a new GM steps in, the clock resets. Unless the head coach is a proven, elite-level leader, pairing him with a brand-new GM almost always leads to friction. If Miami wants a clean restart, if it wants a faster path back to real contention, then choosing a GM this offseason and allowing that GM to select his own head coach may be the clearest road forward. Big decisions are coming. And no matter what direction this franchise takes, one thing is certain. Miami cannot afford to be out of sync anymore. The next move has to be unified, deliberate, and built for the long haul.